I made lasagna.
Oh, so if I make lasagna and we get into it, that's gonna make it better?
It will make it better.
Hey y'all, what up? It's Jessica. Many of you really enjoyed my mastacholi recipe. Thank you very much. And if you haven't seen it, links down below. But like, if they like mastacholi, they gonna love this lasagna. Just like with the mastacholi, this is a meaty lasagna. If you don't like meat, you can make it vegetarian. Spoiler alert, I add spinach regardless. But let's go over our ingredients as always, and let's get started. Lasagna. Mwah. If you want to skip past ingredients, cooking begins around 2 minutes and 4 seconds. In terms of meat, I have 1 pound of chuck ground beef, half a pound of hot, and a half a pound of mild Italian sausages. I already made my sauce. I'm gonna put the video down here below if you want to make your own pasta sauce too, but you will need pasta sauce and diced tomatoes if you don't make yours. I have some herbs because y'all know I like herbs. This is parsley, basil, and garlic's not a herb, right? But I got some chopped garlic. What did I miss? Oh, the cheese. Let's get the cheese. Cottage cheese, small curd. Ricotta cheese, Parmesan and Romano cheese, and mozzarella cheese. I just thought about this. I probably should have bought a brick mozzarella and shredded it myself. It has a much better melt that way, but I wasn't thinking, so we got the pre-shreds today. Don't judge me. Ooh. Flying my parsley, and of course your noodles, 9 of them to be exact, because 9 gets real chunky and 9 is all that fits. You'll need a container to put it in, a bowl to mix your goods in, and you will need 2 eggs. I think that's it. Let's get started. If I forget anything, I'll let y'all know as we go. This is my dad as always. Hey daddy. I began with adding some olive oil to the skillet. Y'all, I got a real heavy pour. It's a good thing I'm not a bartender. But after I got the olive oil in there, I started adding the meat and that chopped garlic. I don't know where my head was during this part, but make sure your skillet's on. Mine wasn't. All right, let's add in our seasonings. I didn't tell you all about Italian seasonings. I do the sprinkle until my ancestors say stop. About 1.5 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons. I go heavy on the seasonings that don't have salt. If you don't got salt in it, you can season it up. But you know, if it's some salt in there, we can't do that. A little bit of cayenne pepper, just a little bit for a little kick. And then just a little bit of salt. The meat is already salty, so we don't need much of that. Now let's just cook this up. Oh, it has to be on to be cooking. Make sure your burner's on. All right. So as my meat is starting to cook, I'm ready to eat. So I'm gonna multitask here. Normally I kind of like babysit the stove. Not today. Okay, we're gonna pop in all the Parmesan cheese, our ricotta. We need to stir up the ricotta. Cause it's milky or watery. I don't know what that is, but see, that's why we only use a half, cause I'm gonna lose the other half. We're gonna take our cottage cheese, like cutting it in half. Well, like half of the cottage cheese, right? A hot mess. Basil, some fresh parsley, sprinkle that in there. Gonna mix this up a little bit, and then we're gonna add 2 beaten eggs into this as well to help bind it. 2 eggs, 2 eggs, 2 eggs. Everything needs to be clear so y'all can see. But my kitchen is a mess right now. Ooh, 1. Ta-da! Put that back in here, and I'll clean that later. Another one. Ta-da! Put that back in here. I'll clean it later. Light beat. Light beat. This. We're gonna take this and we're gonna go just mix that together. If you're going to multitask like me, make sure you check in on your meat. This is all 3 meats that were all mixed in, and you can see they were nice and brown. This is what they looked like when they were done. If you remember from the beginning of the video, I already made my sauce. So if you don't pre-make your sauce, that's when you get your tomato sauce, your diced tomatoes, get it all together and seasoned. Mine was already done. Remember, link down below for my homemade sauce. But once the meat was done, I added all that to my sauce. Nice, meaty mixture. Once the meat was in, I add in the spinach. I don't know, the spinach tastes good, but it also makes me feel good. Like I'm getting something green other than the basil and the parsley. But just taking the time to add that in, stir it up, because y'all all know that spinach is going to wither down to nothing. Is that a word? Wither. It's going to be almost nothing. So the warmer it gets, the smaller it gets. And you can fit a whole bag from the grocery store in here. Just dump it all in. And this is what my sauce looks like once all the spinach is in and all the meat is in. Yum, 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 yum. And of course, we can't forget about our cheese. I kind of leave this out while I'm doing other things. I don't pop it in the fridge to wait because when it's too cold, it doesn't spread too easily. But I realized we didn't chat about the noodles. I boiled them to the package instructions and then laid them out on like a parchment paper just to stay flat and non-sticking as I got everything else ready. So after your noodles are done, your sauce is done, your cheese mixture is done, you all are really smart. You know what's next. It's layering this lasagna. Now with layering, the two things to remember. Sauce goes first at the very, very bottom, then your noodles need to go. Now everything else in between is kind of at your discretion. You just need to end with mozzarella, but not before you put it in the oven. We'll get there. But I kind of flip up the very last layer. So I do sauce, I do noodles, I do cheese mixture, I do mozzarella. And I repeat that for 2 layers. But on the very, very last one, I save the mozzarella until after I've baked it and I put it on top. Many of you won't watch this video to the end. It's just how YouTube goes. But I'm going to say this now for those of you that are going to exit out. Let your lasagna set after you cook it. Don't cut right into it or it's going to go plop, plop, plop. Let it set, y'all. But for those of you that are still listening, we're at my final layer now, and you'll see I left the mozzarella cheese off. I actually put it in the oven first to bake for a bit. Once I bake it for about 20-30 minutes, that's when I add the mozzarella cheese back on, put it back in the oven to get nice and brown, and look what you get in return. Yummy, yummy lasagna. And yes, I added that parsley on just for y'all to be cute. Please don't forget, like, comment, subscribe.
I made you mad. I will be. Right? Where's my plate?
So silly. So silly. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed, baby. Happy birthday.